Shall we open the curtains? We are excited to present the students from the classes of Mrs. Ames, Mrs. Graff, Mrs. Santasuso, Mrs. DeBrito, Miss Morgante. Guys, wait for your parents. Welcome to our first grade concert pajama party. I'd like to welcome Elijah Brooks, Savannah Gringus, Pia Salvatorelli, and Tate Wadowich for the Pledge of Allegiance. Parents, please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'd like to thank Jasiah, whose name I didn't catch at the beginning on the introduction. I now would like to welcome our wonderful music director, Mrs. Marina Berger.
Kids, it's time to get ready for bed. Okay, Mom!
Bedtime is my favorite time. I know that's strange to say. It's 'cause I get to put my PJs on to end my day. All of my pajamas are colorful and bright. And when it's time to go to bed, I party through the
must be done before I go to bed. You have to take a bath and wash yourself from toe to head.
Don't forget before you sleep you have to brush your teeth.
In and out, side, above, and underneath.
So when my mother calls, I listen and obey. Because her marching orders must be followed right away.
of sheets and blankets pulled up to my head. Just one more glass of water, just one more book to read, just one more hug and one more kiss is really what I need.
And when I'm through with mom and dad and hugging and kissing,
I'm tucked in tight, but then I notice there's something missing. You gotta have a doll, a blankie, a lover, or a teddy. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Okay, then now I'm ready.
you should get me down to sleep. This is a silent night. I'm also feeling good, and everything seems right.
But wait, what's that noise that I hear that comes from down below?
What is underneath my bed? I just don't want to know. Could it be a monster or a creature from beneath? I'm sure that it has hairy hands and scary fangs for teeth. Do I dare to take a peek to see what waits for me? My, what will I find? Whatever will I see? There's nothing in the closet or underneath the bed.
All the scary things were rolling in my head.
Now I'm settled, I think I'll count some sheep. My eyes are getting heavy. It's time to go to sleep. Bedtime is a great time. It'd be a lot of fun.
But there's one more thing that simply must be done.
I promise I will wake up and I'll sleep so sound and long.
If we could just hold hands and sing the final bedtime song.
Kids, are you sleeping? Let's give them another big round of applause, everyone.
Wonderful. You know, for a production like this to happen, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes to get it up and running smoothly. So I'd like to thank our clerical staff, Mrs. Monaco and Mrs. Augusta over at Central Administration, organizing what they do and the Eventbrite and everything. I'd like to thank our custodial staff for getting everything in order to make you comfortable, the parking team for having the parking work out nice and smoothly. We have a wonderful PTA here at Brookside, and we have had some volunteers who help decorate for the event. And I'd like to thank, and I apologize if I pronounce any names less than perfectly, Mrs. Higgins, Mrs. Gonzalez, Mrs. Jara, Mrs. Weilhofer, Mrs. Gringus, and Mrs. Brooks. Thank you. I'd also like to expressly thank the Board of Education, Dr. Hatter, who's in the back, Mrs. Acknowledgments, and Mrs. Sanfilippo, because they always ensure that we have the resources that we need to do events like this. I'd like to thank our wonderful teaching staff, Mrs. Ames, Mrs. Graff, Mrs. Santasuso, Mrs. Debrino, Mrs. Morgante, Mrs. Toscana, and Mrs. Kazuma. I'd like to invite some students, and we have them right here. Come on down. They would like to offer, on behalf of the first grade, a thank you to Mrs. Berger. On behalf of the entire faculty, thank you for taking time out of your day to come join us.